Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to go over the modification I did on my NERF Longstrike. I purchased this a few years ago because I really liked the design of it. I thought I could do some LED modification and some paint job to go with my sci-fi costume I'm working on. So starting off, I just had to take everything apart carefully. At the time of recording, this gun actually stopped working already, but I just wanted to make sure when I do reassemble, I had the chance of it working again, but it did not work. But no big deal. This is just for a prop anyway, so starting off for the LEDs, I wanted to put an LED right there where the front grills are. So here I'm just making sure I have enough clearance for the LED. Once I had that, I just started drilling out every single hole with my smallest bit, then work my way up to the bit of that diameter. So far so good. I had to cut these little support fins on the inside just so I can fit the LED in there. This is the LED I'm working with. It's the same one I use for the front of my helmet. Oh, I had to use this Dremel piece also to flatten out the backside since there were little bumps where the holes were. After that, I started on the switch on the front of the gun. Start with my smaller bits and work my way up. I didn't have a bit that was big enough, so went back around the perimeter with my small bit and then cut out the excess plastic. And then went back over it with my Dremel just to smooth it out, widen it out, all that good stuff. Then put my switch in. The terminals for my switch were poking up a little too high, so I had to bend these tabs over. And then I had to mark the positions of the front LEDs, so I had to make sure it was clear of the barrel. So here is the lower LED position, and then the upper LED. Alright, now for the LED, I had to just cut it to size with my saw and then just lay it into that receptacle. I did have to cut these little other support fins just to make that clearance. So it fits, so far so good. Next, I wanted to get rid of the NERF logo on the side. I kind of did a test run with one of the sides by shaving it down with my box knife and then sanding it. It is a softer plastic, so just kind of have to work it a little bit on all the areas that had the NERF logo. So here's just an example. Just pushing the blade and then scraping it off, then sanding it. The reason why I didn't sand the whole side is I didn't want to lose the additional details that are there on the gun. So trying to minimize the area as much as I could. Here, just started soldering the LEDs I was going to use for the front of the gun. Then drill out the holes. Checking the diameter. And here is just the test fit. The next step was to paint. Initially I had painted the gun in this semi-gloss black. I really didn't like how it looked, so I went back over it with this matte black. I really like that a lot better, so I went back over the rest of the pieces in the matte black as well. Alright, and then the next step was to add my rechargeable battery port. So here I've got the panel and my rechargeable battery, just checking for clearance. I wanted to mount it to one of the support fins on the inside, but that didn't really work out since I couldn't really put the screws vertically on the panel. Initially I just started off with the hole, making sure it was wide enough to fit the USB-B cord into the slot, which worked out, not that big of an issue. But like I mentioned, I couldn't mount it vertically, so I just took some of these plastic pieces I had from one of my helmet panels and then cut it up to the specifications I needed. I just glued some of the pieces together and made this mount. So it'll look something like this. And I can put the screws in for the mount from the exterior side perpendicular. Once everything was good, I just drilled out the holes for the rechargeable port to the mount and screwed everything down. Then lined it up to the frame. Make sure it's still sitting correctly. The next step was to add the screw holes to the gun. Then put the mount back in, then drill into the mount piece. Once I had that, I just used a countersunk bit on the exterior side. So it looks something like this. Then the next step was to mount it. I also added the terminals to the board for my power distribution. Then I added contacts for all the switches and LEDs and then put it together. Not the prettiest circuit board, but it works, so not a big deal. Here's just a test with the 4 little LEDs. Alright, then I just installed all the LEDs to the frame with super glue. With the forward LEDs, I just put a little dab of super glue and held it in place with a screwdriver until it cured into spot. Alright, and then once I had this side done, I was ready to install all the pieces back into the gun. So carefully adding all the wiring. I fought with this for about 30 minutes trying to get everything lined up. It wasn't even the front part of the gun, it was the aft section. There were some springs that kept wanting to pop up. But yeah, so here's everything. Here's the countersunk screws for the charger port. And lights work fine, everything's nice and secure. Then add the rest of the parts on. Here's a test of the LEDs with a little bit dimmer in the room. Then adding the nozzle. Alright, overall looks pretty good. And then the next step was to add this strap. This is just an old strap I had from my old lunchbox. I held on to it just in case I ever did this project. So here's just a test fit with everything on. Fits pretty snug on my back, doesn't butt my legs or anything, easy to carry. Here's the LED. The shoulder strap for it kind of gets in the way whenever I'm trying to press the button, but no big deal, still accessible enough. I can also carry it in front of me, no problem. I can easily put it back on my back as well. So yeah, overall, really like the mod I did. I think it came out pretty good. Hopefully in the future, once I'm done with my helmet, I can make a little short video or something like that. Alright, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.